Hello and welcome to Calm Mind, a place where thoughts are allowed to slow down. You don't need to make anything happen or arrive anywhere. Right now, your only invitation is to be here. Just this. Just you. Just resting. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw release. Allow your eyelids to grow heavy in their own time. No rush. Let's close the door on the day together and begin. Tonight, we explore something that feels almost forbidden in our world. Something your entire life has trained you to resist. Stillness. Complete, total, unapologetic stillness. Right now, you might feel that familiar urge to do something, to think about something, to figure something out. This urge is so constant you barely notice it anymore. The background hum of you should be doing something, always. But tonight, you're allowed to be still, completely still, still in your body, still in your mind, still in your being. You don't have to move toward anything. You don't have to become anything. You don't have to do anything at all. This isn't laziness. This isn't giving up. This isn't failing. This is radical permission to stop, to be still, to exist without producing, without improving, without doing. Here's what's happening in your nervous system right now. Your sympathetic nervous system, your doing system, has been activated for hours, maybe days. It's running on cortisol and adrenaline, keeping you in a state of readiness. Always preparing, always alert, always on. If these gentle journeys are meaningful to you, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a reflection below. It helps other restless minds find their way here. But for now, your only task is to relax. Tonight, we're activating something different. Your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest system, the part of you that knows how to be still, that knows rest isn't something you achieve, but something you allow. Let's start by acknowledging what you're feeling right now, because you feel it, don't you? Even lying here, trying to rest, there's pressure. Pressure to fall asleep. Pressure to do this meditation correctly. Pressure to relax properly. Pressure to fix your sleep problem. Pressure to be better tomorrow. The pressure never stops, does it? This pressure has been with you so long you might not even notice it anymore. It's become background noise. But your body notices. Your body keeps score. And right now, your body is probably holding tension in places you're not even aware of. Here's something fascinating. Researchers have found that even in rest, many of us activate the same brain regions we use for problem solving and planning. We literally cannot turn off the doing mode. We've forgotten how. But tonight, we're remembering. We're releasing that pressure. All of it. Every demand. Every expectation. Every should. Tonight, you're allowed to be completely, utterly, profoundly still. Can you feel the pressure right now? The subtle tension of feeling like you should be doing something? Even just lying here, there's pressure. Pressure to sleep. Pressure to rest well. Pressure to fix yourself. What if you could release that pressure? What if, just for tonight, you were allowed to exist without any demands on you whatsoever? Let me be clear about what stillness is, because there are misconceptions. Stillness is not meditation with a goal. It's not trying to become more mindful or enlightened. Stillness has no agenda at all. Stillness is not relaxation techniques. Techniques are doing. Progressive muscle relaxation, breathing exercises. These are all doing. Stillness is the absence of doing. Stillness is not even sleep itself. Sleep is a state you fall into. But stillness is a permission you give yourself. The permission to stop doing. To stop trying. To stop becoming. And from that permission, sleep might come. Or it might not. Either way, stillness is allowed. Stillness is not emptiness. Thoughts and feelings can be present, but there's no pressure to do anything about them. No pressure to clear your mind or manage your emotions. They can just be there, and you can be still with them. Stillness is simply the absence of pressure to do, think, fix, solve, become, or change anything. It's radical permission to be exactly as you are, with no agenda whatsoever. In our world, stillness feels almost wrong, doesn't it? Like you're wasting time. Like you should be doing something. Anything. But not nothing. Never nothing. You've been trained your whole life that your value comes from what you do, from your productivity, from your accomplishments. Being still feels like being worthless. Here's what happened. From childhood, You were rewarded for doing. Gold stars for completing tasks. Praise for achievements. Love that felt conditional on performance. Your brain learned a pattern. Doing equals valuable. Being still equals invisible. So even when you try to rest, you make rest productive. You listen to meditation to improve yourself. You practice sleep hygiene to optimize your rest. You can't just be still. You have to be productively still. But tonight, we're breaking that pattern. Tonight, stillness doesn't have to serve any purpose. It doesn't have to make you better. Stillness is allowed just for stillness's sake. You're allowed to be still and gain nothing from it. You're allowed to lie here and not improve. You're allowed to rest without it making you more productive tomorrow. You're allowed to do nothing that serves any purpose whatsoever. This feels radical because it is radical. In a world that demands constant productivity, choosing to be still, choosing to be unproductive, is a revolutionary act. And tonight, you're revolutionary. Tonight, you're choosing stillness not because it will make you better, but because you're allowed to be still. Period. No justification needed. Think about it. Every major spiritual tradition throughout history has recognized the power of stillness. The Sabbath, one day of complete rest. Meditation retreats. Vision quests. Silence. They understood something we've forgotten. Stillness is where transformation happens, not through doing, but through being. Modern neuroscience is finally catching up. Studies show that during rest, real rest, not productive rest, your brain actually becomes more active in certain regions. The default mode network lights up. This is where creativity happens, where insight emerges, where your brain processes and integrates everything you've experienced. But it only works if you truly let go. If you're not trying to accomplish rest. If you're simply being still. Here's something important. You don't need to earn the right to be still. You might feel like you haven't done enough today to deserve rest. Like you haven't worked hard enough to justify stopping. But stillness isn't a reward for productivity. It's your birthright. You're allowed to be still simply because you're alive. Because you're a human being. Not a human doing. Because your worth isn't measured in output. You don't have to finish everything on your to-do list to be allowed to rest. You don't have to solve all your problems before you're permitted to be still. You don't have to become better before you're allowed to stop trying to become better. Right now, whatever you did or didn't do today, you're allowed to be still. Even if you were lazy today, even if you didn't accomplish much, even if you wasted time, you're still allowed to be still tonight. Let me tell you what actually happens when you allow yourself to be completely still. When you release all pressure to do, think, fix, solve, become. At first, discomfort. Your nervous system has been in doing mode for so long that stillness triggers a kind of withdrawal. Your mind will panic. It will throw thoughts at you, problems to solve, things to worry about. It's not used to being still. It thinks stillness is dangerous. Your body might feel restless, itchy, uncomfortable. This is normal. Your body has been braced for so long. Muscles habitually tense, jaw clenched, shoulders raised. Stillness requires these to release, and release can feel strange. But here's what science tells us. If you can be patient with this discomfort, your nervous system begins to shift. Your heart rate variability increases, a sign of nervous system flexibility. Your vagal tone improves. Your body literally learns that it's safe to be still. And underneath all the restlessness, you find something you might have forgotten, something simple and profound. You find yourself, not the productive self, not the achieving self, not the constantly improving self, just yourself, being, existing, still, and discovering that being still is enough. Let's begin right now, not by doing anything, but by releasing the need to do anything. Notice the pressure you feel, the subtle sense that you should be doing something, thinking about something, figuring something out. Just notice it. You don't have to fix it. Just see that it's there. And now, give yourself permission. Permission to not do anything about that pressure. Permission to let it be there without fixing it. Permission to be still even though you feel like you should be doing something. Say this silently to yourself, as if you're speaking to a dear friend who's been working too hard. I'm allowed to be still. Right now. Even though there's pressure. Even though my mind says I should be doing something. I'm allowed to do nothing. Let it sink in. Let it be a radical act of self-permission. You're allowed to be still. You're allowed to do nothing. You're allowed to exist without producing. Feel your body on the bed. Not to relax it. Not to fix it. Just to notice it. Here. Still. Allowed to be exactly as it is. Your weight supported completely. Nothing for you to hold up. Notice your breath. Not to control it. Not to deepen it. Just to notice. Breathing happening. While you remain still. While you do nothing. This is the beginning. This simple permission to be still. To do nothing. To exist without agenda. And we'll practice this permission again and again throughout tonight, until stillness feels less forbidden and more like coming home. You're allowed to be still. Remember this. Let it be your anchor tonight. Whenever you feel pressure to do something, remember, you're allowed to be still. Let's look at something that might be running your life without you fully realizing it. The tyranny of productivity. The belief that your value comes from what you do. From the moment you wake up, there's a clock ticking. Things to do. Goals to achieve. Tasks to complete. Your worth measured in checkboxes ticked, in projects finished, in progress made. You've learned that being productive means being valuable, that doing nothing means being worthless, that rest must be earned through sufficient doing. Here's how deep this goes. Researchers studying work patterns found that even on vacation, most people can't truly disconnect. Their minds are planning, preparing, thinking about what's next. The productivity machine never fully shuts down. You optimize your morning routine for productivity. You maximize your work hours for productivity. You even optimize your sleep for productivity. Practicing sleep hygiene not because rest is valuable in itself, but because good sleep makes you more productive. There's no escape. Even your hobbies must be productive. You can't just enjoy something. You must improve at it. You can't just play. You must achieve. You can't just be. You must become. Right now, notice how this shows up. Even in this meditation, are you trying to be productive? Trying to get better at relaxing? Trying to achieve good sleep? Trying to improve yourself through this practice? Be honest with yourself. No judgment. Just noticing. That's the productivity trap, so pervasive you might not even see it. But it's there, in the pressure you feel, in the inability to just be still. What does this constant productivity cost you? What do you lose when you're never allowed to be still? You lose presence. When you're always doing, you're never fully here. You're always leaning forward into the next task, the next goal, the next thing to accomplish. Scientists call this temporal discounting, constantly sacrificing now for later. But here's the thing. Later never comes. There's always another later. You lose yourself, the you that exists beneath the doing, the you that's valuable not because of what you accomplish but simply because you exist. That self gets buried under the constant motion. You lose true rest, not just sleep, but deep rest, the kind of rest that comes from fully stopping, from releasing all agenda. Research on sleep shows that it's not just about hours, it's about quality, and quality rest requires true surrender, not productive sleep hygiene. You lose joy, because joy doesn't come from achievement. Joy comes from being, from presence, from the simple act of existing without needing to produce or accomplish. And if you're never allowed to simply be, joy becomes impossible. You lose your life, because life is happening now, in this moment. But you're never in this moment. You're always in the next moment, the next task, the next goal. Your life passes while you're busy being productive. This is the cost, and it's enormous. The tyranny of productivity robs you of presence, of self, of rest, of joy, of your actual life. All in service of doing more, achieving more, becoming more. The productivity trap tells you a lie. If you just do enough, you'll be allowed to rest. If you just achieve enough, you'll be allowed to be still. If you just become enough, you'll finally be allowed to stop. But enough never comes. You finish one task, there's another. You achieve one goal, there's a bigger one. You become better, but you could always be even better. The finish line keeps moving. I want you to really hear this. Enough is a lie. It doesn't exist in the productivity paradigm. The system needs you in motion, constantly. If you stopped, if you were still, you might realize you don't need to be productive to be valuable. And then the whole system falls apart. So enough is always just out of reach. just one more task, just one more goal, just a little more improvement, and then you can rest. But that then never comes. Have you noticed this in your own life? How you're always just about to be allowed to rest, but somehow never quite there. How there's always one more thing before you can truly stop. That's because the permission to be still doesn't come from doing enough. It can't. Enough doesn't exist in the productivity paradigm. The only way to be still is to give yourself permission regardless of whether you've done enough. Tonight, you're breaking that pattern. Tonight, you're being still not because you've done enough, but because you're allowed to be still regardless. Because enough is a lie and you're done believing it. For many of us, productivity isn't just what we do, it's who we are. We are what we accomplish. Our identity is bound up in our doing. I'm a hard worker. I'm ambitious. I'm a go-getter. I'm driven. These aren't just descriptions of behavior, they're core identity statements. They're who you believe you are. And if your identity is built on productivity, stillness feels like death. If you're not doing, who are you? If you're not accomplishing, do you even exist? Stillness threatens your very sense of self. Psychologists call this enmeshment, when your sense of self becomes completely fused with what you do. It's incredibly common in our culture, and it's incredibly exhausting. But here's the truth, and I want you to really let this in. You are not your productivity. You are not your accomplishments. You are not what you do. Those things are things you do, but they're not who you are. Who you are is the being underneath all the doing. The awareness that's present whether you're productive or still. The life that exists whether you're accomplishing or simply being. And that being, that awareness, that life, doesn't need to be productive to be valuable. It doesn't need to accomplish to be worthy. It doesn't need to do anything at all. It's valuable simply because it exists. Tonight, you're meeting that being. The you underneath productivity. The you that's allowed to be still. The you that exists without doing. And you're discovering that this being is enough, just as it is, without accomplishing anything. Productivity isn't just a trap, it's an addiction. And I use that word carefully. You're addicted to doing, to the feeling of accomplishment, to the sense that you're making progress, to the validation that comes from being productive. Your brain releases dopamine when you complete tasks. Check off a to-do item, dopamine hit. Finish a project, dopamine rush. This creates a reward cycle that keeps you seeking more tasks, more accomplishments, more doing. Like any addiction, it's hard to stop. Even when you want to rest, you can't. Your mind keeps moving, thinking, planning, solving, doing even when your body is still. And like any addiction, there's withdrawal. When you try to be still, you feel uncomfortable, anxious, restless. Your mind screams at you to do something, anything. The discomfort of not doing is intense. But also, like any addiction, the only way out is through. You have to allow the discomfort. Sit with the restlessness. Be still even though stillness feels wrong. And gradually, slowly, the addiction loosens its grip. Tonight is practice. Practice being still even though your mind is screaming to do something. Practice allowing the discomfort of not doing. Practice withdrawing from the addiction to productivity. It won't be comfortable. Your mind will throw everything at you. Urgent thoughts, important plans, problems that need solving. It will try everything to get you back into doing mode. This is the addiction fighting back. But you're going to practice stillness anyway. Not because it's comfortable, but because you're breaking an addiction. And breaking addictions requires doing the thing that feels wrong until gradually it starts to feel right. Your mind will tell you that by being still, you're missing out. Missing opportunities. Missing productivity. Missing progress. This is the addiction talking. But what are you actually missing by being still for one night? Really, what will you lose by doing nothing for 5 hours? You're not missing anything important. I promise you. The world will continue. Your work will be there tomorrow. Your problems don't need to be solved right this moment. Nothing terrible will happen if you're simply still for one night. What you're actually missing by being constantly productive is this: the present moment. Rest, peace, yourself, your life. These are what you miss when you're never still. So tonight, you're not missing anything by being still. Tonight, You're finally catching what you've been missing all along. This moment, this rest, this peace, this self, this life. Let your mind believe you're missing out if it wants. Let it tell you all the things you should be doing. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to act on it. You can simply be still and know that you're not missing anything. You're finally, fully here. So how do you release this tyranny? How do you break free from the constant pressure to be productive? Not by doing something. You can't be productive at being unproductive. You can't achieve stillness. You can only allow it. You release the tyranny by giving yourself permission. Permission to be still. Permission to do nothing. Permission to be unproductive. And then you practice that permission again and again. Right now, notice any pressure to be productive. Even productive at this meditation, productive at sleeping, productive at resting. Just notice it. And then give yourself permission to be unproductive, to gain nothing from this moment, to improve nothing, to achieve nothing, to simply be still, with no purpose whatsoever. Say this like you mean it. I'm allowed to be unproductive. I'm allowed to do nothing. I'm allowed to be still without it serving any purpose. My worth doesn't come from what I do. Let it challenge everything you've been taught. Let it be revolutionary, because it is. In a world that demands constant productivity, choosing to be still and unproductive is radical resistance. And tonight, you're resisting. You're refusing to be productive. You're claiming your right to stillness. You're releasing the tyranny, one moment of permission at a time. Now we arrive at something fundamental, something that might shake your understanding of yourself. The question, who are you without your doing? When you imagine being completely still, doing nothing, accomplishing nothing, becoming nothing, what comes up for you? For many, it's fear, a kind of vertigo, because if you're not doing, who are you? If you're not accomplishing, what's your value? If you're not becoming better, what's your worth? These questions feel terrifying because you've built your identity on doing. You've measured your worth by your productivity. You've defined yourself by your accomplishments. Without those things, it feels like you disappear. But this question, who am I without my doing, is actually an invitation to discover a deeper self, a self that exists whether you're productive or still, a self whose worth isn't conditional on accomplishment. Tonight, we're exploring that question, not to answer it intellectually, but to experience it, to be still long enough that you start to discover there's a you underneath all the doing, and that you is enough. Here's something you might not believe, but I need you to hear it. Your worth is not earned. It's not something you achieve through doing. It's inherent. It's built in. You have worth simply because you exist. This feels wrong, doesn't it? Everything in our culture tells you worth must be earned. You must prove yourself. You must accomplish enough to deserve value. You must become enough to be worthy. But worth doesn't work that way. Let me share something with you. A baby has worth, yes? Complete, unconditional worth. But babies don't do anything. They don't produce. They don't accomplish. They don't improve. They just are. And they have complete, total, unconditional worth. When did that change for you? At what age did your worth become conditional on your doing? When did you learn that just being wasn't enough, that you had to do to be valuable? The truth is, it never changed. You still have the same inherent worth you had as a baby, the same worth that doesn't depend on accomplishment, the same worth that just is, because you are. In developmental psychology, there's a concept called unconditional positive regard, the idea that worth doesn't have to be earned, that you're valuable simply for existing. Children who receive this grow up with healthy self-esteem. But most of us didn't fully receive it. We learned that worth was conditional. But tonight, you're remembering that your worth is inherent, that you don't have to earn it, that you're valuable simply because you exist, and that you're allowed to be still, doing nothing, and still be completely worthy. Who are you? If someone asks, what do you say? Most of us answer with what we do. I'm a teacher. I'm a manager. I'm a student. I'm a parent. We define ourselves by our roles, our jobs, our functions. But these are things you do, not who you are. You are not your resume. You are not your job title. You are not your roles or your accomplishments or your productivity. So who are you without all that? Without the doing, without the roles, without the accomplishments, who are you? This is the question that stillness asks, because in stillness, you can't hide behind doing. You can't define yourself by your productivity. You have to meet yourself as you actually are, beneath all the doing. And this might feel like nothing at first, like there's no one there without the doing. But that's because you're so identified with doing that you can't see the being underneath. But the being is there. The awareness that's present right now. The life that's experiencing this moment. The you that exists whether you're productive or still. That's who you are. And that's been there all along, waiting for you to notice. Tonight, you're meeting that being, not the productive self, not the achieving self, just the being, the you who exists without needing to do anything at all. And discovering that this being is enough, is valuable, is worthy, just as it is. What if you truly believed you were worthy without doing anything? What if your worth was absolute, unconditional, independent of any accomplishment? How would that change how you live, how you rest, how you relate to yourself? If you knew you were worthy regardless of productivity, you wouldn't need to prove yourself constantly. You wouldn't need to accomplish to feel valuable. You wouldn't need to do to deserve existence. You could rest without guilt. You could be still without shame. You could do nothing and know that you're still worthy, still valuable, still enough. This is freedom, true freedom. Not the freedom to do more, but the freedom to be still, the freedom to stop, the freedom to exist without producing. Studies on self-compassion show that people who can separate their worth from their performance actually become more effective, not less. They're more creative, more resilient, more able to take risks, because they're not paralyzed by the fear of failure. This is what tonight offers, not just rest, but freedom. The freedom that comes from recognizing your worth doesn't depend on your doing. That you're valuable simply because you exist. That you're allowed to be still and still be worthy. Right now, can you touch this freedom? Can you feel what it would be like to truly believe you're worthy without doing anything? Can you let yourself be still and know, really know, that you're enough? There's a difference between being and doing, and understanding this difference is crucial for stillness. Doing is action, movement, accomplishment, change. It's oriented toward the future, toward becoming, toward improvement. It's valuable in its place. But being is different. Being is presence, existence, awareness. It's oriented toward now, toward what is, toward acceptance. It's not about becoming. It's about being fully what you already are. Our culture values doing over being. Doing gets things done. Doing creates change. Doing is productive. Being seems passive, useless, unproductive. But here's what neuroscience is discovering. Being is where life actually happens. You can't experience life while you're always doing. You can only experience it in being, in presence, in the simple awareness of existence. When you're in being mode, different brain networks activate. The default mode network, associated with self-awareness, memory consolidation, and imagination, comes online. This is where meaning happens, where you process who you are and what matters. Right now, you can be, not do, just be. Notice you exist. Notice you're aware. Notice the simple fact of being alive, right now, in this moment. That's being. The drive to always be doing comes from a belief that you're incomplete, that you need to become more, achieve more, improve more, that you're not enough as you are. But what if you're already complete? What if there's nothing you need to become? What if you're enough exactly as you are, right now? This doesn't mean you can't grow or learn or change, but it means you don't need to grow to be worthy. You don't need to improve to be valuable. You don't need to become anything to be enough. You're already complete, already whole, already enough. The doing and improving and becoming, these are things you might choose to do, but they're not required for your worth. Can you feel into this possibility? Can you sense that you might already be complete? That nothing is missing? That you don't need to do anything to be enough? Maybe it feels impossible. Maybe you feel all the ways you're incomplete, all the things you need to fix. That's okay. That's just conditioning. Old voices that aren't telling you the truth. But underneath that conditioning, There's a completeness, a wholeness, a you that doesn't need anything added or changed or improved, a you that's already enough. And tonight, you're touching that completeness by being still, by doing nothing, by existing without trying to become anything. You're discovering, I'm already complete. I'm already enough. I don't need to do anything to be worthy. When you truly understand that your worth is inherent, rest becomes possible in a new way. Because you're not resting to become more valuable. You're resting because you already are valuable. You're not resting to earn the right to exist. You're resting because you already have that right. You're not resting to prove anything. You're resting because rest is allowed for beings of inherent worth. This is rest without agenda. Rest without purpose. Rest that doesn't serve anything except the simple recognition that you're valuable enough to deserve rest. Feel what this is like, to rest knowing you're already valuable, to be still knowing you already have worth, to exist knowing you already deserve existence. This is the deepest rest, because you're not trying to become anything. You're not trying to earn anything. You're simply being, knowing that being is enough. Tonight, rest in your inherent value, not to create value, not to earn value, but simply resting as a valuable being. Resting as someone who deserves rest. Resting as you. Now let's address something that might be the hardest to release, the obligation to think. The belief that you must always be figuring things out, solving problems, planning ahead. Your mind is constantly working, thinking, planning, analyzing, worrying, solving. It never fully stops, does it? And you believe it shouldn't stop. You believe you need to think about things. Figure things out, solve your problems, plan your future. That thinking is required. That not thinking is irresponsible. Here's what's happening neurologically. Your brain has a negativity bias. It's wired to look for problems. This kept your ancestors alive, but now it keeps you anxious. Your brain scans for threats, for things that need solving, for scenarios that need planning. It's doing its job, but it doesn't know when to stop. So even when you try to rest, your mind keeps working, because there are things to think about, problems to solve, decisions to make. You can't just stop thinking. There's too much to figure out. But tonight, you're allowed to stop thinking. You're allowed to not figure anything out. You're allowed to leave problems unsolved, decisions unmade, plans unplanned. You're allowed to let your mind be still. This feels dangerous, doesn't it? Like things will fall apart if you stop thinking about them. But they won't. Your problems don't need to be solved right now. Your decisions don't need to be made in the next hour. Your future doesn't need to be planned tonight. Everything will still be there tomorrow. But tonight, you're allowed to not think about any of it. You're allowed to release the mental obligation to figure things out. Here's something radical. Thinking is optional. Most of the time, you don't actually need to be thinking. Your mind just thinks you do. Your mind believes it must solve every problem immediately, must plan for every possibility, must analyze every situation, must never stop working, because if it stops, something bad might happen. But this is just your mind's conditioning. It's evolutionary programming running on autopilot. Thinking isn't actually required moment to moment. You can exist without thinking. You can be aware without analyzing. You can be present without planning. Right now, you don't need to think. Whatever your mind says is urgent, it's not. Whatever it says needs to be figured out right now, it doesn't. Your mind is lying to you about urgency. It does this constantly. The truth is, you can be still mentally as well as physically. You can let thoughts arise without engaging with them. You can exist without thinking about everything. You can be here, now, without mental activity. This doesn't mean forcing thoughts away. That's just more doing, more effort. It means releasing the obligation to think. Releasing the belief that you must engage with every thought, solve every problem, plan every detail. Thoughts will come. That's what minds do. But you don't have to do anything with them. You don't have to engage. You don't have to solve. You can let them be there and remain still, mentally still. Right now, your mind might be working on something, a problem, a decision, a plan. Something it believes needs to be figured out. But you don't have to figure it out tonight. Whatever your mind is working on, it can wait. It will still be there tomorrow, and you'll be better equipped to handle it after rest. Research on decision-making shows something fascinating. We make better decisions after rest. The phrase "sleep on it" is scientifically sound. Your brain processes information during rest, especially during sleep. Forcing yourself to think through problems when you're tired actually makes you less effective. Your mind doesn't believe this. It believes this thing must be figured out now, that it's urgent, that you can't rest until it's resolved. But your mind is wrong about urgency. The truth is, very few things are actually urgent. Very few problems need immediate solutions. Very few decisions can't wait until tomorrow. Your mind just makes everything feel urgent to keep you engaged. So tonight, you're calling your mind's bluff. You're saying, "This doesn't need to be figured out right now. I can let it be. I can rest without resolving it. I'm allowed to not figure things out." Notice what your mind is working on. Just notice. And then give yourself permission to not work on it tonight. To let it be unsolved. To rest without resolution. Say this like you're giving yourself a gift. "I don't have to figure this out tonight. I'm allowed to let it be. I'm allowed to rest without resolving everything. My mind can be still." Part of mental obligation is the pressure to know, to have answers, to understand, to figure things out. But there's freedom in not knowing. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to understand everything. You don't have to have everything figured out. Not knowing is allowed. In fact, not knowing is honest. There's so much you don't know, so much you can't understand, so much that's beyond figuring out. And that's okay. That's part of being human. Tonight, you can rest in not knowing. You can be uncertain. You can be confused. You can be without answers. And that's completely acceptable. This releases so much mental pressure, because you stop trying to know what you can't know. Stop trying to understand what you can't understand. Stop trying to figure out what can't be figured out. Scientists spend their entire careers studying uncertainty and complexity. Some questions don't have simple answers. Some problems don't have clear solutions. And you don't have to have it all figured out. Right now, what don't you know? What questions don't you have answers to? What problems remain unsolved? Can you be okay with not knowing? I don't have to know everything. I don't have to understand everything. I'm allowed to rest in not knowing. I'm allowed to be uncertain. Not knowing is okay. Feel the freedom in this. The release of the pressure to know. The permission to simply be here, not knowing, and have that be completely acceptable. Worrying is a form of mental work that accomplishes nothing. It doesn't solve problems. It doesn't prevent bad things. It just exhausts you. But your mind worries anyway, because it believes worrying is productive. That if you worry enough, you can prevent bad outcomes. That worrying is a form of control. But worrying controls nothing. It's just your mind spinning, creating scenarios, rehearsing problems, none of which actually helps with anything. It just prevents rest. Psychologists call this catastrophizing, imagining worst-case scenarios as if they're inevitable. Your brain does this to try to prepare you, but all it does is create anxiety about things that might never happen. Tonight, you're allowed to not worry. Whatever your mind is worrying about, let it go. Worrying about it won't change anything, but not worrying will allow you to rest. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're recognizing that worry doesn't help, that you can care about things without exhausting yourself through worry. That mental stillness is more helpful than worry. Notice what you're worrying about. Just notice. And then give yourself permission to not worry about it tonight. To let it be. To rest without the burden of worry. Worrying doesn't solve anything. I'm allowed to let go of worry. I'm allowed to rest without figuring everything out. My mind can be still, even if problems remain. You might believe your mind can't be still. That thinking is constant and unavoidable. But mental stillness is possible. Not as the absence of all thoughts, but as the absence of engagement with thoughts. Thoughts arise, but you don't have to do anything with them. Think of thoughts like clouds passing through the sky. The sky doesn't grab the clouds, doesn't engage with them, doesn't try to solve them or figure them out. They just pass through, and the sky remains vast, open, still. You can be like the sky. Thoughts arise, problems, plans, worries, decisions. But you don't have to grab them. Don't have to engage. They can pass through while you remain still, mentally still. This is mental stillness, not fighting thoughts, not forcing them away, but releasing the obligation to engage with them, letting them be there without working on them, being still even as thoughts arise. Right now, practice this. Notice a thought, maybe a problem or a plan or a worry. Notice it, and then don't engage. Don't work on it. Let it be there, like a cloud, while you remain mentally still, like the sky. It might feel impossible at first. Your mind will want to grab the thought. Work on it. Engage with it. That's okay. That's just habit. Just notice that urge. And practice not acting on it. Practice remaining still. With practice, mental stillness becomes easier. The thoughts still come, but you learn you don't have to do anything with them. You can be still, mentally still, and that stillness allows deep rest. Stillness isn't just the absence of doing. It's a practice, an art, even a sacred act. Tonight, we explore stillness as something valuable in itself, not just as a means to rest. Stillness is something you practice. Not to get good at it, not to achieve perfect stillness, but to deepen your relationship with it, to learn what stillness has to teach. Every moment you choose stillness over doing, you're practicing. Every time you release the pressure to think or accomplish, you're practicing. Every breath you take without trying to change anything, you're practicing. And like any practice, it gets easier with repetition. Not easier as in more comfortable. Stillness might always feel a bit uncomfortable, but easier as in more familiar, more like coming home. The first times you try to be still, it feels impossible. Your mind screams. Your body resists. Everything in you wants to do something. This is normal. This is the beginning of practice. But the more you practice, the more familiar stillness becomes, the less threatening, until eventually, stillness stops feeling like deprivation and starts feeling like refuge. Tonight is practice. You're not trying to be perfectly still. You're just practicing. Practicing release. practicing permission, practicing being without doing, and that practice itself is valuable. Stillness heals, not because it's productive healing, but because stillness creates space for your body and mind to do what they need to do without interference. When you're constantly doing, there's no space for natural healing. Your body is always in stress mode, what scientists call sympathetic dominance. Your nervous system stays activated. Your cortisol levels remain elevated. There's no space for repair, for restoration, for natural self-regulation. But in stillness, space opens. Your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest system, can finally activate. Your body shifts into repair mode. Your heart rate variability increases. Your immune function improves. Healing happens not through doing, but through allowing. You don't have to do healing tonight. You don't have to work on yourself. You just have to be still. And in that stillness, your body's natural healing intelligence takes over, without you needing to direct it or accomplish it. Research shows that during deep rest, your body repairs tissue, consolidates memories, processes emotions, and strengthens neural connections. All of this happens automatically when you give your system permission to be still. Right now, you can trust this. Trust that being still is enough for healing. That you don't have to do anything. That stillness itself creates the conditions for natural restoration. Your body knows what to do. It's been healing itself your entire life. It just needs you to get out of the way, to be still, to allow. Stillness is how you become present. When you're doing, you're in the future. When you're still, you can be here, now. Presence is simple. It's just being aware of this moment, this breath, this body, this existence. But presence is impossible when you're always doing, always thinking ahead, always moving toward the next thing. Stillness removes the obstacle to presence. When you stop doing, you can be here. When you stop thinking about tomorrow, you can experience today. When you stop becoming, you can be. And presence is where life actually is. Your life is not in the future you're working toward. It's here, now, in this moment. But you miss it when you're never still enough to be present. Neuroscientists have found that presence, being fully in the moment, activates different brain regions than future-oriented thinking. The anterior cingulate cortex lights up. This is associated with awareness, emotion regulation, and a sense of well-being. Presence literally changes your brain state. Tonight, stillness is bringing you home to presence, to this moment, to this life, to this actual experience of being alive, right now, right here. Notice this moment, not to do anything with it, not to improve it, just to be present with it, to be here, still, aware, alive. This is what stillness offers, not achievement, but presence. There's wisdom in stillness, a knowing that comes not from thinking, but from being, a clarity that emerges not from figuring things out, but from being still enough to hear what's already known. Your mind believes wisdom comes from thinking, from analyzing, from working things out, but deeper wisdom comes from stillness, from being quiet enough to hear your deeper knowing. In stillness, you can hear what your body knows, what your heart knows, what your deeper self knows. These voices are always speaking, but you can't hear them over the constant noise of doing and thinking. Ancient wisdom traditions knew this. Meditation, prayer, vision quests, Sabbath. They all recognize that insight comes from stillness, not from constant mental activity. Tonight, stillness creates space for this deeper wisdom. You're not trying to figure things out. You're being still enough that what needs to be known can emerge naturally. This doesn't mean you'll suddenly have all the answers, but you might touch something deeper than answers, a knowing that doesn't come from your mind. A wisdom that's always been there, waiting for you to be still enough to hear it. So be still, not to gain wisdom, not to figure anything out, but to create space for deeper knowing to emerge if it wants to, and to trust that stillness itself is wise. In stillness, something interesting happens. The boundaries between you and everything else start to soften. You begin to sense that you're part of something larger. You don't have to believe in anything particular for this. You just have to be still enough to sense that you're not as separate as you thought, that your individual doing isn't all there is, that being is bigger than your personal becoming. When you're constantly doing, you reinforce the sense of being a separate self. I am doing this. I am accomplishing that. I am becoming something. The self feels solid, boundaried, isolated. But in stillness, those boundaries soften. You're breathing the same air as everyone else. Your body is made of elements that have cycled through countless other beings. You're held by gravity, by the earth, by forces far larger than your individual self. This connection is healing. Research on loneliness shows that feeling connected, even to nature, to the universe, to something transcendent, improves mental and physical health. Stillness opens the door to this connection. Right now, can you sense this? Can you feel that you're not separate? That your stillness connects you to a larger stillness? That your being is part of a larger being? This might be subtle, or might not be there at all. That's okay. Just the willingness to be still is enough. The willingness to stop your individual doing and rest in something larger. The most radical thing about stillness, it's enough. Stillness doesn't need to lead anywhere, doesn't need to accomplish anything, doesn't need to make you better. It's valuable in itself. You're allowed to be still without it serving any purpose, without it making you more productive tomorrow, without it healing you or changing you or improving you. Stillness is allowed just for stillness's sake. This feels wrong, because you've been taught everything must have a purpose, must serve some goal, must accomplish something. But stillness refuses this logic. Stillness says, I am enough, without producing anything. And in that refusal, stillness is liberation. Liberation from the constant pressure to justify your existence through doing. Liberation to simply be, without needing to produce or accomplish or become. Tonight, let stillness be enough. Don't make it productive. Don't use it to achieve better sleep or better health or better anything. Just let it be stillness. Let it be enough, without serving any purpose beyond itself. This is the sacred art of stillness. Not achieving stillness, not using stillness for something else, but honoring stillness as valuable in itself, as enough in itself, as worthy in itself. And in honoring stillness this way, you honor yourself. You affirm that you're enough without doing, that your existence is valuable without producing, that being is worthy without becoming. We're approaching the final teachings before our long descent into sleep. This section explores the deepest invitation of stillness, being without needing to become anything else. Your whole life, you've been pushed to become better, become more successful, become smarter, stronger, wiser, more accomplished, always becoming, never arriving. This constant becoming is exhausting, because you never get there. You become something, and immediately there's something else to become. The goalposts keep moving. You're always incomplete, always needing to become more. And you've internalized this. You believe you should always be growing, improving, evolving. That staying the same is stagnation. That being satisfied with who you are is settling. That you must always be becoming. But tonight, you're releasing the tyranny of becoming. Tonight, you're allowed to just be. Not become, be. Not improve, exist. Not transform, simply be present with what is. This feels dangerous, doesn't it? Like you're accepting mediocrity, like you're not living up to your potential. But it's not. It's recognizing that being is not less than becoming. That you don't need to become anything else to be valuable. Developmental psychologists have found that people who can rest in who they are, without constantly needing to improve, actually grow more naturally and sustainably. They're not driven by inadequacy, but by genuine curiosity. Who you are right now is enough. You don't need to become wiser, more accomplished, more productive, more enlightened, more anything. Right now, as you are, you're enough. This doesn't mean you can't change, can't grow, can't learn, but it means these things are optional, not required for your worth. You're already enough, whether you become anything else or not. The pressure to become is just another form of the productivity trap. Another way of saying you're not good enough as you are. Another demand that you must always be doing, always improving, always becoming. But you can step off that treadmill. You can say, I'm enough as I am. I don't need to become anything else. I can simply be. And in that being, I'm complete. Right now, notice any pressure to become, to be better, to improve, to transform. Just notice it, and then release it. Give yourself permission to be exactly as you are, without needing to become anything else. Say this like you're setting yourself free. I don't need to become. I'm enough as I am. I don't need to improve to be worthy. I can simply be, and that's enough. When you release the pressure to become, extraordinary freedom emerges. The freedom to simply exist, to be here, to inhabit your life without constantly trying to improve it. You can be with your experience without trying to change it. Be with your thoughts without trying to fix them. Be with your body without trying to improve it. Be with your life without trying to make it different. This is freedom. Not the freedom to become anything you want, but the freedom to be what you are. The freedom to exist without justification. The freedom to be still without purpose. And in this freedom, you can rest. Really rest. Not rest as a means to becoming more productive, but rest as an end in itself. Rest because being still is allowed. Rest because you're free to simply be. Right now, feel this freedom. The freedom to be exactly as you are. To lie here without needing to become anything else. To exist without purpose or agenda. This is the freedom stillness offers. The present moment doesn't need to become anything else to be complete. It's already whole, already enough, right now. But you rarely experience this completeness, because you're always trying to make the present moment into something else. Trying to improve it, change it, move beyond it to something better. Tonight, let the present moment be complete. Don't try to make it into something else. Don't try to improve it or escape it. Just be present with it. Exactly as it is. This moment, with whatever thoughts, sensations, feelings are present, is complete. It doesn't need to become anything else. You can simply be here, now, with what is. And that's enough. Notice this moment, the simplicity of it, the completeness of it. You existing, right now, in this bed, in this darkness, in this life. Complete, whole, enough. Nothing needs to change. Nothing needs to improve. Nothing needs to become different. This moment, exactly as it is enough. It takes trust to be without becoming. Trust that you'll be okay without constant improvement. Trust that life will unfold without you constantly pushing it forward. Trust that being is enough. Your mind doesn't trust this. It believes you must always be becoming or you'll be left behind. You'll fail. You'll miss opportunities. You'll waste your potential. But what if you trusted being? Trusted that existence itself is enough. Trusted that you don't need to become anything else to be worthy of your life. This trust is a practice. You practice it by being still, by releasing the pressure to become, by giving yourself permission to simply exist, without agenda or purpose. Right now, practice trusting being. Trust that it's okay to be still. Trust that you don't need to become anything tonight. Trust that simply existing is enough. I trust that being is enough. I trust that I don't need to become anything else. I trust that my existence is valuable simply because I exist. When you release the pressure to become, you receive a gift, the present moment, the now, the only moment you actually have. All your life is lived now. Never in the future, never in the becoming, always and only in the being of this present moment. But you miss it when you're focused on becoming. Tonight, you're receiving the gift of now, not trying to make it into something else. Not rushing through it to get to the future, just being present with it, receiving it, living it. This is what being without becoming offers, the actual experience of your life, the presence that you've been missing. The now that's always been here, waiting for you to stop becoming long enough to simply be. Feel the gift of this moment, the simplicity of existing, the wonder of being alive, the peace of being still. This is the gift. This is what you receive when you stop trying to become and simply allow yourself to be. As we close this section, receive complete permission. Permission to be without becoming. Permission to exist without improving. Permission to be still without purpose. You don't need to become anything tonight. You don't need to improve anything. You don't need to transform anything. You're allowed to simply be, exactly as you are, complete, whole, enough. This permission is radical. It goes against everything you've been taught. But it's true. You're allowed to be without becoming. You're allowed to exist without producing. You're allowed to be still without purpose. Receive this permission deeply. Let it sink into your body, your mind, your being. Let it challenge all the pressure you've been carrying. Let it offer you freedom you might never have experienced. Tonight, you don't need to become. You can simply be. And that being is enough, is valuable, is worthy, is complete. We've arrived at the final descent. Everything we've explored tonight has led here, to this moment, where you're finally, fully allowed to be completely still. Let's gather everything we've learned, not in your mind, but in your being. Let it settle into your body, your heart, your deepest self. You're allowed to be still. You don't have to move, think, decide, or improve. You're allowed to simply be still, present, here. Your worth doesn't come from doing. It's inherent, built-in. You're valuable simply because you exist. You don't have to earn rest. You don't have to deserve stillness. It's yours simply because you're alive. Thinking is optional. Planning can wait. Decisions don't need to be made tonight. Problems don't need to be solved. Your mind is allowed to be still. Stillness itself is valuable. It's not just a means to something else. It's not preparation for productivity. Stillness is worthy in itself. You can be still without it serving any purpose. Being is enough. You don't need to become anything else. You don't need to improve. You don't need to transform. Right now, exactly as you are, you're complete. All of this together, integrated, held, not as concepts but as lived experience. Your body knows this now. Your being has absorbed this truth. You're allowed to be still. As we enter this final descent, you have absolute permission. Permission beyond anything you've given yourself before. Complete, total, unconditional permission. Permission to do nothing, to think nothing, to accomplish nothing, to become nothing, to simply be still, at rest, completely released from all pressure. Permission to stop listening to these words. Permission to forget everything we've talked about. Permission to let it all go and simply rest. Permission to be imperfect, to still feel pressure, to still have thoughts, to still struggle with stillness. You don't have to be good at this. You just have to allow yourself to be here. Permission to take all night, to rest on your own timeline, to sleep when your body is ready, to be still for however long it takes. There's no rush, no deadline, no pressure. Complete permission, total permission, absolute permission. Nothing is required. Everything is allowed. You can fully, completely let go now. Now, begin to sink. Sink into your body. Sink into the bed. Sink into stillness. Sink into rest. With each breath, sinking deeper. Each moment, settling further. Each heartbeat, releasing more. Your body knowing the way, following its ancient path to complete stillness. So heavy now, your body like lead, sinking into the mattress like you're sinking into the earth. Nothing to hold, nothing to maintain, just sinking, settling, releasing. Let yourself be heavy, heavier than you've ever been. Gravity pulling you down into rest. Your arms heavy, legs heavy, head heavy. Every part of you releasing its weight completely to the bed, to the earth beneath you, to gravity. Nothing left to hold up. Deeper with each breath, stiller with each moment, more released with each heartbeat. Your whole being sinking into profound, complete stillness. Now, release everything, every pressure, every obligation, every thought, every worry, every need to do or think or become. Release it all. Release the day. Whatever happened, it's done. Over. Complete. You don't need to think about it anymore. It's gone. Released into the past where it belongs. Release tomorrow. Whatever might happen, it will take care of itself. You don't need to prepare. Don't need to plan. Don't need to worry. Tomorrow is released. You have tonight. Just tonight. Release all the thinking, all the planning, all the solving, all the figuring out. Your mind can rest now. It's done enough. It can be still. Release the pressure to improve, to become, to be better. You're enough right now. You don't need to change. You can simply be, as you are, enough. Release yourself, the self that does and thinks and becomes, the self that carries pressure, the self that must accomplish. Release that self. Just be, without self, without identity, without anything to maintain. Release this meditation. You don't need to remember it. Don't need to do it right. Don't need to get anything from it. It served its purpose. Now it's released too. Release everything until there's nothing left to hold, nothing left to carry, nothing left to be or do or become. Just stillness, pure, complete stillness. You're arriving at profound stillness now. Stillness of body, stillness of mind, stillness of being. Complete, total, absolute stillness. Nothing moving, nothing doing, nothing becoming, just stillness, vast, deep, infinite, and in that stillness, peace deeper than you've known. You're not trying to be still anymore. You are stillness. You're not watching stillness. You've become stillness. No separation. No observer. Just stillness being stillness. This stillness is sacred. It asks nothing of you, requires nothing, offers everything, just by being, just by existing, just by allowing you to be completely, utterly still. Rest in this stillness. Sink into it. Become it. Let it be everything. Let it hold you. Let it be your home. Your breath is so slow now, so gentle, barely perceptible. Your body breathing itself while you rest in perfect stillness. Your heart beating its quiet rhythm, steady, calm, slow, the rhythm of deep rest, the rhythm of complete release. Everything in you settling, quieting, becoming still. Your nervous system releasing into deep rest. Your muscles soft as water. Your mind quiet as space. You're at the threshold now, between waking and sleeping, between being and dissolving, between here and there. Don't watch for it. Don't wait for it. Don't try to notice when you cross. Just let yourself drift toward it. Blur into it. Dissolve into it. The threshold is soft, permeable, like mist. You might cross it now, in a moment, or gradually, imperceptibly. It doesn't matter. Just drift. Just allow. Just let go. So close now. Almost there. Almost dissolved. Almost gone. Almost. Your awareness beginning to fragment. Thoughts becoming dreamlike. The boundary between waking and sleeping dissolving like sugar in water. Let it happen. Don't hold on. Don't try to stay aware. It's safe to let go. Safe to fade. Safe to cross this threshold into sleep. Everything fading now. Awareness fading. Consciousness fading. You fading. Into stillness. Into darkness. Into rest. Into sleep. You don't need to hold on. Don't need to stay aware. It's safe to fade. Safe to disappear. Safe to become nothing. Safe to sleep. Fading, dissolving, disappearing, sleeping. Just stillness now, pure stillness, complete stillness, nothing else, just this, just stillness, just rest. So still, so quiet, so peaceful. So far away, almost gone completely, almost. Your body knows what to do now. It knows how to sleep, how to rest, how to let go completely. Trust your body. Let it guide you the rest of the way. Sinking deeper now, deeper than thought, deeper than awareness, into the profound darkness where true rest lives. Still. Rest. Sleep. So peaceful here, so safe, so allowed. You can rest completely. Nothing required, nothing needed. Just this deep, dark, peaceful rest. Allowed. still. Peace. You're allowed. Right now, you can be. Not do, just be. Notice you exist. Notice you're aware. Notice the simple fact of being alive, right now, in this moment. That's being. And in being, you're not less valuable than in doing. You're not wasting time. You're not being unproductive. You're simply being, and being is enough. Being is valuable. Being is worthy. Tonight, practice being overdoing. Practice presence over productivity. Practice awareness over accomplishment. And discover that being is not less than doing. It's the foundation of everything. Let sleep come when it comes. Let rest deepen as it deepens. Let everything be exactly as it is. Nothing next. Just now. Just this. Just rest. So peaceful. So complete. So still. The night holds you. The darkness surrounds you. The quiet welcomes you. Nothing needs to happen next. Just rest. Just peace. Just now. I'll see you soon. May your rest be deep. And your dreams be gentle.